back, everybody. This is a tier list for the effectiveness of weapons against spiders and their affordable housing condominiums. If you don't know what's happening, go watch part 1. And if you think that everybody who abused pre-patch Druid Wild Shape should be put on a registry and flogged on national television, then you must subscribe. Thanks, and let's get right into this. Just like a garlic ranch enema, using the spear is an unforgettable and a concerningly enjoyable experience. With the capability to execute both spiders and their urn with only one tap, and its moveset being perhaps one of the most straightforward and efficient at killing arachnids, I think you already know that this sick, disgusting freak of a puppy deserves a spot at the top of the ladder. Gentlemen, because there's no f***ing way a woman is watching this content, I present to you our second spider, Annihilator. I'm what you would call a halberd enthusiast. People often say things to me like, the halberd's cheeks, and no Artilix. Buc-ee's isn't better than Walmart, but they don't know that I know they're gaslighting me. The halberd rules. It's big, it's sexy, and it's fantastic at wiping out 8-legged pests. One-shotting both spiders and pot, it makes the most out of its moveset and range that both excel at crushing bugs. It isn't as good as a longsword or the spear though, so it goes to the S tier. I cannot stress how much I simply do not give a shit about this weapon. I just don't care about it. I never liked it, I never really use it, and it one-shot spiders and one-shots the pot. It's like if somebody asked about your opinion on the current state of Lithuania. Like, I don't know man, I hope they're doing pretty good, but I can't recall the last time I critically thought about Lithuania. No Caperton, however. Upon pondering my Benjamin Franklin, I suppose the Bardiche can rest aside the halberd in the S tier. Back in the day when people used to talk about the battle axe, like in the playtests, the general consensus was that it sucked. Like, nobody used it, and the only time you would have to suffer its existence is whenever you were default barbarian and you couldn't afford to put like 20 Zweihanders and double axes in your stash yet, because the wipe just started. However, I hate Redditors. I don't know if it's all Redditors, but I cannot think of a more obnoxiously pretentious hive mind of bedwetters and frail-minded fat mongoose. I don't like them. I do like the battle axe though, for killing spiders. It goes to the A tier. The double axe is a lot like a communal fleshlight that you and the boys share split custody of on the weekend. It's quality. I think it's a little bit better than the battle axe due to its diagonalish first attack in its chain that can easily kill multiple spiders. Anyways, it does everything that the battle axe does, but more effectively. I have no choice but to give this double-sided doodad a place in the S tier. Did you ever have a destructive friend in high school that was pretty chill and reserved until they got a little bit of Uncle Jim's moonshine in their bloodstream, and then they started trying to break as many miscellaneous objects as humanly possible as fast as they can? The felling axe is that weapon. It's great until it's not. If you can hit everything you swing at the first time, then this is a quality axe, maybe even S tier. But its downsides are incredibly punishing, and in combination with its range, I'm afraid this little cutie must cop a squat with the B tier boys. Just like my ex-girlfriend told me, the hatchet is a black hole of negativity. I'm not your mother, Hatchet, I'm your wielder. Realistically, the only time you should be using the hatchet to clear spiders is if somebody punched you as hard as they could in the stomach, which caused you to fall to your knees. As you breathe raggedly and begin to plead for desperation, you feel the palm of your hand fill with the haft of a small weapon. Looking up, you see Danny DeVito's face, slick with perspiration, and his eyes alight with both anticipation and nervousness. If that weapon in your hand is a hatchet, then I suggest you use it. C tier. When I was in the Marine Corps, I had a sergeant that loved to drink milk to the point that he would fill his camelback up with it instead of water during hikes. What does that have to do with the horseman's axe? Well, if I had to imagine him in Dark and Darker, I think he's the type of person that this weapon is for. I don't know exactly what that means. I'm not making any implications outside of what I said. It's like the hatchet, but with slightly longer range, I think. I'm gonna throw it into the B tier. Handsomely, of course. I think it's important that I set a precedent when it comes to the bows. I think that, generally speaking, they aren't very good at killing spiders and pots. All of the bows share the same impact power, but not the same amount of damage. That means that, although the longbow hurts like losing a game of cornhole to your father-in-law, it still breaks pots the same as a survival bow. It does, however, one-shot spiders. Considering its speed as well, I'm going to have to disrespectfully throw this twig and rope into the My Little Pony jar tier. How disappointing. When it comes to breaking pots and killing spiders, the recurve bow is like a middle child. It doesn't really excel at anything, only two-shotting spiders and pot. It's like the Sean Combs of bow and arrows. How hard do you think this thing is to shoot in real life? Especially if somebody greased it up with, like, petroleum jelly, and it was all squishy and slippery in your fat little hands. It'd be like trying to squeeze a marble out of a pound of sliced bologna. Damn, that's crazy. C tier for sure, though. The survival bow is the subject matter expert at killing spiders in the bow dynasty. Although it two-shot spiders, it's a fast enough weapon to do so without much trouble. It also two-shots the pot, but with its rapid fire, it's about 3 times as effective as the longbow. It also doubles as a sick cosplay prop if you want to dress up as a mosquito bard player who nobody loves. B tier, I reckon. The crossbow is the closest you can come to using a ranged weapon, but still maintaining what little testosterone your body has left after hundreds of Goblin Cave runs. Its masculine, sleek, and Chad-esque bolts render death to spiders and urns alike in one highly straight and badass blow. You can make one of those shirts that old guys wear with the Grim Reaper on it, with the American flag behind it saying, "Yeah, sorry if my patriotism pisses you off, snowflake." Yeah, like, now imagine the crossbow there instead. It's slower and less versatile than bows though, even though it's extremely effective, so I'm going to have to put it in the B tier. With 2 bolts to destroy a spider and 2 bolts to break a pot, you have to have something genuinely wrong with you to attempt using this weapon to fight the legions of spiders inhabiting the dungeons. Like, it sucks, dude. It's not good. Look at the B footage, and you can garner some kind of perspective on what it feels like to use this weapon. Want to know how it feels to chew 5 gum? The opposite of using the hand crossbow. Anal fissure tier. I hate it. You know those giant ants that live in Costa Rica? The ones that have one of, if not the most painful sting in the entire animal kingdom? The bullet ant? Now imagine smearing your ball sack in marmalade, dragging it through a field of razor blades, and plopping them into a box full of them, and letting them go hog wild. Then, when you go to complain about it, the first person you meet is the bullet ant ball blaster world champion, and he says you got soft hands, brother, before you can get a sentence out. That's the winless crossbow experience when faced with a spider session. General Jamboree tier. So what if I like the magic staff? With only a singular swift arcane and perhaps even wizardly strike, Spideys die, and the same could be said for their private domiciles. It might be the most underrated arachnid slaying weapon out there. Its biggest drawback, however, is its range. Most of the time, you have to crouch to make contact, whereas with other options like the spear and the longsword, there is no need. Getting close to the spiders is an invitation to take a bite, which might be a good thing if your intention is to become like a weird mummy version of Spider-Man. I'm gonna have to put the magic staff in the S tier. The ceremonial staff is weird. The first attack in its chain doesn't one-shot spiders, but the second one does. Either attack destroys the urn in one hit, but this still puts it slightly below the magic staff in effectiveness, even if its second hit in its attack pattern is a stab, which is generally better for pot destruction. What the Sigma? A tier. So, since shields are technically primary or secondary weapons in the Squire tab, they needed to be included. The only way to potentially make shields work in this instance is to use Shield Bash. If you would direct your curious eyes to the B-roll, you will see that for whatever reason, Shield Bash cannot break spider pots. It does, however, absolutely annihilate spiders. Alas, not being able to break a spider pot means that all shields achieve the secret, new category of disqualified. Well, there is one shield that works. Allow me to introduce to you perhaps the most masculine, well-endowed way to deal with spiders. If you want to show everybody in the dungeon that you are the GOAT and probably not all there, rock the lantern shield and nothing else. You can successfully block and then riposte spiders to death to not only kill them, but also shame their bloodline for 6 generations. It's also capable of destroying the pot in the same way. Very dope strategy, dog-ass tier. You know, it's actually not that bad. Another standard 2-2, like a dagger, the spellbook is capable of dishing out surprisingly competent damage to spider kind and their infrastructure. Its attack angle is actually preferable for me over daggers, personally, as well. The only thing holding it back is that it has no attack chain, just the one attack, which repeats with a fairly slow reset timer. I'm gonna be honest here, in places where my heart is telling me to place it. I think that the spellbook is C tier, a better weapon than the Castellan dagger. Long story short, they don't do anything. You can't deal damage with these weapons on their own. You can technically use the crystal ball to cast spells, but those would be spells and not the crystal ball. LOL, DQ'd. We're finally here! We've reached our last weapon, and personally, kid, in real life, I highly doubt you'd want to be privy to my fists. I'm 6'7" and 250 pounds of pure muscle. I walk around my house with my shoes and socks off so that every time my bare feet hit the tile, they make a wet, slapping noise as if I'm in the dungeon. Maybe if you started training with a katana like I did, you'd be half the man I am. If it was my fists, it'd be in its own category at the top. But for Dark and Darker, they're not good. Actually, they're the only weapons in the entire game that 3-shot spiders. The worst possible. That's it. Alright, thanks for viewing, guys. If you haven't already, please punch that little subscribe button. It's been very, very bad. Hit it in the head until it doesn't get up. With that said, I'm going to bed, and I'll see you guys on the next adventure. Toodaloo!